The winter morning was bitterly cold, and the old steam engine roared to life behind them, its black smoke curling upward into the gray sky. Snow blanketed the ground, crunching softly beneath the boots of the tall man who stood before the four girls. His wide-brimmed hat shielded his eyes, though his weathered face revealed the weight of many hard years. He wasn't born a father, yet life had placed this heavy mantle upon him. He had chosen it, not out of obligation, but out of a quiet sense of duty no one else seemed willing to carry. The four girls stood in a straight line, shivering slightly in their matching brown dresses and white headscarves. They clutched their small hands together, glancing at one another with a mix of uncertainty and fragile trust. Each had lost something different, parents, home, or hope. Now, in the shadow of the train, they were bound together by the man who had taken them in. When the world had turned its back, his voice was low but steady as he reassured them. "From this day forward, you are mine to protect. No one will take you from me." The promise was not spoken lightly. It carried the weight of survival in a time when orphans were often scattered, forgotten, or broken apart. Behind the veil of steam, the passengers on the train watched curiously. A few whispered, "Why would a single man burden himself with 4 children?" Some pitied him, others judged him, but none truly understood the choice he had made. To him, these children were not a burden, but a chance to rebuild something greater than himself. As the whistle blew, signaling the train's departure, the girls' eyes widened at the enormity of their new life. They were leaving behind everything familiar, stepping into a future shaped only by the man's resolve and their own courage. Snowflakes drifted down onto their shoulders, as if sealing this strange and tender bond. In that moment, he tightened his grip on the strap of his worn satchel, as though bracing himself for battles yet unseen. The train pulled away, its wheels grinding against the icy tracks, but he did not look back. His gaze was fixed forward, on the promise of a home that would no longer be temporary. What none of them knew was that destiny had one more turn in store. An heiress would soon enter their lives, and with her arrival, everything they thought they understood about love, sacrifice, and family would be tested. Just as the train began to pull away, the screech of carriage wheels broke the air. Heads turned as a grand black carriage, pulled by 2 gleaming horses, rolled onto the station. From it stepped a young woman draped in furs, her presence commanding immediate attention. The townsfolk gasped. It was the heiress of the richest family in the region. Her eyes scanned the platform until they landed on the man and his 4 girls. For a moment she paused, struck by the sight. There was something in the man's stance, unyielding, powerful, yet burdened with responsibility, that caught her breath. The children, huddled close, stared back at her with innocent curiosity. She stepped forward, her boots crunching on the snow. "You?" she said, her voice both sharp and curious. "These girls. They are with you." The man turned, his coat swirling in the wind, and met her gaze with the strength of steel. "Yes, they are mine now. And no one, not even you, will take them away." The heiress's lips curved into a knowing smile, her eyes gleaming with a mix of challenge and intrigue. She had not expected to find such defiance here. She had come searching for something, perhaps power, perhaps redemption, but in this moment, destiny had placed her face to face with the one man bold enough to defy her world, and thus their story truly began. The station grew quieter after the train disappeared into the snowy horizon. Only the crackling of carriage wheels and the hiss of steam remained. The heiress stood tall, her fur-lined cloak glistening with snowflakes. She studied the man and the 4 girls as though they were a puzzle she intended to solve. "Do you even know what you've taken on?" she asked, her voice cutting like a blade. 4 mouths to feed, 4 futures to protect. A single man cannot bear such a burden." The children pressed closer to him, sensing the weight in her words. He glanced down at them, then back at her, his jaw set like stone. "I've fought storms fiercer than this," he said with fire in his voice. "I will not abandon them. I don't care what anyone thinks, not even you." The heiress's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of something else. Respect. She wasn't used to being challenged. Men usually bowed to her wealth, her family's name, her power. Yet this rugged stranger dared to look her straight in the eye, unshaken. To test him, she stepped closer and knelt before the children. Her gloved hand extended softly toward the smallest girl. Do you trust him? She asked gently. The girl hesitated, her lips trembling. Then, with surprising boldness, she clutched the man's coat tightly and whispered, "Yes, he is our father now." The words struck the heiress like a thunderbolt. For a moment, her heart softened. But she quickly masked it with a sharp laugh. Rising to her full height, she said, "Very well. Keep them, but know this, fate is never kind. If you fail them, I will take them, and nothing will stop me." The man stepped forward, his shadow towering over her, his voice unshakable. "Then you'll have to fight me first, and I do not lose." The air between them sparked with unspoken challenge. Around them, the townsfolk whispered, sensing that something larger than themselves was unfolding. This was no ordinary meeting. This was the beginning of a clash between two worlds. One forged in wealth and privilege, the other in grit and sacrifice. The heiress smiled faintly, not out of victory, but fascination. For the first time in years, she had met someone she could not control. And deep down, she knew this battle was only the beginning. Days later, the storm that had raged over the town finally broke. Snow melted into soft streams, and life began again with the promise of spring. The single dad worked tirelessly, building a modest home for the 4 girls. They laughed as they carried firewood and fetched water, their once uncertain eyes now glowing with joy. But one afternoon, the sound of horses' hooves thundered once more. The grand black carriage appeared at the edge of the village. The heiress stepped out, her expression no longer sharp, but softened with something unspoken. She had come not as a challenger, but as a witness. The girls ran to greet her, their laughter filling the air. She looked down at them, seeing not burdens, but treasures worth more than all her family's gold. For the first time, she felt something stirring within her, longing. She turned to the man, her voice steady yet gentle. "You were right. They are yours to protect, but perhaps I can stand beside you, not as an enemy, not as an heiress, but as someone who wants to belong." The man's eyes narrowed, testing her sincerity. But then, as the children clung to both of them, he gave a slow nod. Destiny had woven them together in ways neither could have planned. The townsfolk watched in awe, whispering, for they knew they had just witnessed the birth of a new family, one forged not by blood or wealth, but by courage, sacrifice, and love. And so, under the fading winter sky, the man, the heiress, and the children stood together, not as strangers, but as a family reborn,